he's hit this one, Miles. Great shot. Oh, it's a biggie. Straight over the top. The little man has hit the big fella for six. He's off his size. And he's smashed him down the ground. What a player. What a wonderful player.
The Cricket Nuts.
You are listening to The Cricket Nuts, a podcast where we sit down and talk about a host of issues around cricket, the sport we all live and love. You should expect our views to be passionate, honest, emotional, and adequately analytical. On this show, you will hear Jay, Uday, and myself, Bishen, a motley crew from the fields of law, hospitality, and marketing, thrash it out on our common passion.
Hi everyone, good day. Welcome to the 5th episode of our podcast, The Cricket Nuts. There are 3 cricket nuts here. You've got used to seeing 3 of us. But there's one nut who's different. We have Uday, myself, Bishen, and the third nut today is JD. None of us know what his full name is. He calls himself JD. The world calls him JD. You can call him JD. He's like the rest of us who are a motley crew. JD also has nothing to do with cricket professionally. He works in the area of financial markets. JD, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, viewers.
So let's dive straight into it. So this episode, we will be talking about the impact of the IPL. Some of us like it, some of us don't like it, but let's try to objectively see what impact the IPL has had. Has it been good, bad? What do we think? Right. So that's broadly the theme of this episode. To get going, before we go into the positives and negatives, I just wanted to ask JD and Uday, when you think of the IPL, what is the emotion that it drives for you? Like when March comes around every year, let me say for myself, I'm not a huge fan of the IPL, if I'm very honest, right? It's not my favorite format of the sport, T20 cricket, and IPL is a part of T20 cricket. My favorite format is by far Test cricket. I even really enjoy ODIs. T20 is not my favorite. So I don't look forward to the IPL. But when March comes around, I am looking forward to playing fantasy IPL. So that is what I look for. That is my emotion.
You stole the word from my mouth, actually.
Let's hear it, JD, from your mouth. What is the IPL?
No, I mean it's the same. I mean, Test cricket is obviously my favorite form of cricket. I've really lost the interest in ODIs, to be really honest. But when it comes to T20s, IPL is definitely on top of the charts. You know that 6 weeks, 8 weeks. The time just flies by, right? Every game is an event in itself. It's got so many players that you watch out for. The game it's absolutely fantastic on a daily basis, and add to that you have fantasy, right, which is a little mini battle amongst ourselves itself. So that's something. And that actually makes us to watch all the games. Like, I'm a huge CSK fan, right? But it does not matter if Delhi and KK are playing. I still watch and I still support certain players because I have them in the fantasy. So I think that was a really good trick that the broadcasters and the folks played to make the entire game or all the games interesting to the public.
Uday, what about you? I mean, you may objectively as a analyst determine whether the IPL is good or bad and all that, but forget that for a moment. Just say, what is the emotion that it brings for you?
Absolute joy for me. I love the IPL. For me, IPL is like JD knows how excited I am at that time. I remember when JD and I were working during the IPL days, there was a TV right above where JD used to sit, and I used to sit behind JD. And my eyes would just be on the TV throughout, and I'd keep bugging JD with analysis, annoyances, which I still do. I still keep messaging him throughout the game with my irritations, rants, everything. So IPL is like the pinnacle for me. I love playing fantasy league with guys. Sorry, JD, what?
Yeah, and just like a week before the IPL ends, that's it. Uday goes crazy. Like, mate, you just have 7 more days. You just have 5 more days. And I can see a different version of Uday slowly getting in when the final happens, and that's it. Once IPL ends, for the next 1 week, it's really crazy for us. It's depression.
I must tell you, even though I started by saying I don't like it, over the years it has grown on me as well. And every year, a little bit more. I mean, I feel like it's like Ravindra Jadeja. I used to hate the guy, but over the years, I have grudging respect for him. I even like him now. IPL is like that. Now I have grudging respect for it, and I kind of enjoy it. Okay, let's get into it, guys. So, let's start with the positives of the IPL. What impact we think it's brought on the sport, and clearly the biggest flag bearer in this group was Uday. So of the IPL. So why don't we start with Uday on a couple of things which you think are big positives that the IPL gives the cricket world and impacts the sport in a positive way?
For me, the biggest thing is in terms of player well-being. I think the IPL has just increased player salaries, unimaginably. The way, I mean, the amount they used to get paid earlier. I know ODIs were in the picture, and the big players used to get paid really well, but the upcoming players still struggled. I mean, they didn't. You couldn't. You wouldn't have too many people really looking at careers in cricket, but the IPL just changed that completely. I mean, I'm sure there were. I mean, with the advent of Sachin in the 90s, he did inspire an entire generation. But the IPL just took it to another level, right? You had unimaginably high amounts of money which were determined in the auction, and then a player's career was set. You no longer. I mean, this can be one of the negatives. I'm sure one of you guys might raise this. You no longer had people aspiring or thinking that making it in international cricket is all that is needed to secure your future. You had the IPL now, which could do that to you. So player salaries for me was a huge thing. Parents no longer needed to drive children away from cricket. It's a viable cricket option now. JD's son is an upcoming cricketer. Is an upcoming cricketer. So you know that you have options. Not everybody can make it in international cricket, right? So this became an amazing avenue. So this, for me, that's like the biggest thing. Yeah.
No, I want to add an ancillary point to what you're saying, which is not just cricketers in general, but cricketers from across the world are not placed equally, right? Like cricketers from Afghanistan or West Indies who are great T20 talents, but their boards unfortunately can't afford to pay them a whole lot because the boards get smaller revenue share from the ICC. They are naturally poorer, therefore their contracts are lesser, and the players make less money. But the IPL gives them a platform where they can make as much money as any of the cricketers in India or Australia or wherever it is. So guys like Rashid Khan or Pollard or Gale or whoever, Bravo, have made as much money as anybody. So I mean, it's an extension of your point, but extending it to countries and how countries aren't.
It's a fabulous point. Yeah. It's a very good point. I mean, I don't think Rashid Khan could have dreamt of making the kind of money he did with the talent he has. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Great point, Bishen.
And on a funny, on a little funny note, Uday, because you're talking about households, at my household, I still remember when I was a kid, I used to keep hearing, what cricket is not going to put food on your plate. And that was not for going and playing cricket. That was, when I was watching cricket, right? So, I used to keep hearing that, for watching cricket, it's not going to put food on your plate. Why don't you go and focus on your studies, right? So now that's no longer the case, right? Cricket is a genuine career option, right? IPL, has really brought that change in the minds of the families. And Praveen Tami is a fantastic example. I mean, what better example, for someone was like wanting to play for, Ranji for years and years and years, and he gets a breakthrough and plays IPL at the age of 40 plus, and he does so well. And now after that, he started, playing for the West Indies, league. Now he's got a career, I think, in KKR, right? If I'm not wrong, I think he's part of, some coaching
he's
stuff.
Part of the support staff, is it?
Yeah, he's part of support staff of one of the IPL teams, actually.
That's a great point. I mean, that actually leads me into. Sorry, go on.
I just want to make a point. When JD said watching cricket, not putting food on your plate, I think the IPL actually allows people to watch cricket and put food on their plate as well. Like every team needs an analyst. Every team needs a scout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? The jobs of scouts and analysts are literally to just watch the game and, of course, do something more after that. But watching is a big part of it. So even just watching the sport can make you money. And whole avenue of jobs available for masters and physios and coaches, support stuff. There's a whole lot of employment that the IPL is providing to the country in general and other countries as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's becoming an industry. It's like an industry in itself. Oh, sorry, go on.
My elder son, I mean, like Uday mentioned, right? My elder son, he goes for cricket. And, there's one person in the academy, he's called Ashok. He actually, coaches him. And then one fine day, this year, he was picked up by Gujarat Titans as a throwdown specialist. I mean, I never ever thought until long back, right? I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't think so. There was a throwdown specialist, right, in the team. Now
never.
you have a throwdown specialist for every team. I mean, look at the career. I mean, you can just go on about the multiple different career options that IPL has brought to the table and cricket has brought to the table in general.
Absolutely, it's like an industry in itself now. There's so many. There was Bishen mentioned it perfectly. I mean, the kind of career opportunities, it's unimaginable, right? You can't think of having something like that even as recently as 10-15 years ago. It's been amazing. I mean, the other point which I want to make, just moving on from this point, is just the innovations in the game itself, right? I know people are playing the scoops and all that stuff, but the way batsmen and bowlers have looked to innovate in the game, just to get a move ahead, or to get a move on in the game, or to get a positive in the game, it's been phenomenal. And you look at some of the shots that Pant plays now. You may not be able to directly associate it with the IPL, but I'm sure the T20 game and the IPL has had an effect on players innovating and looking at different ways of scoring, right? What do you guys think?
Absolutely. No, absolutely agree with you. I mean, some players in this era, guys like AB de Villiers, David Warner, Chris Gale, are products of the T20 world, and IPL is the flag bearer of the T20 format. So, I mean, IPL is in no small measure responsible for giving us a lot of the exciting cricket that we're seeing today.
Absolutely.
Some of the shots are just ridiculous, dangerous. In fact, I mean, people couldn't believe the Dil Scoop when it was played earlier, because it could just take your face off, right? But now it's played quite commonly. Everybody plays the shot. It's not a big deal anymore. So no doubt that it's brought a lot of innovation to the sport.
The mindset has changed, right? The mindset has changed. I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, the recent England versus New Zealand series, if anything, right? Because I was reading somewhere that, last year, for example, England had to chase around, 270 or something in about 80 overs against New Zealand. And they scored like 170 for 3 in 70 overs, and they were willing to play, for a draw. And then someone like McCullum comes, who's a typical, IPL sort of, mentality that he comes in. And then, this year, they go and chase about 300 and odd in about 50 overs. And you see Joe Root actually playing a reverse sweep or a scoop for a 6 against Neil Wagner, if I'm not wrong. I mean, the mindset has completely changed a lot.
Yeah, Joe Root was supposed to be the classical batsman.
One big point I think about the IPL that I want to make is, one criticism that often comes is it's vulgar amount of money, obscene wealth, and that's the focus of the IPL, just about making boards rich, right? And there is no doubt that the BCCI makes a ton of money from the IPL. But I really think that there is a huge positive from that as well, in that the extra money the BCCI is generating, and I'm in no way trying to paint the BCCI as a bunch of saints. I mean, there are goods and bads in the way they run the game. I mean, they may have our opinions on that, but the fact is the IPL is generating money that the BCCI can divert towards other things. And some of these things which you can see clear focus just in the last, let's say, 5 to 7 years, the focus on women's cricket, the focus on improving payments for domestic cricketers,
correct.
Improving payments being given to past cricketers, pensions for umpires, etc. Right? So these are things which the BCCI cannot do without money. So money is important.
Absolutely.
And so the money the IPL brings, I think, is hugely relevant and has to be seen at least in some way as a positive.
Yeah. I completely agree. That was something that I wanted to talk about. I mean, the you mentioned pension. I think they recently increased the pension for past players by almost doubled it, which couldn't have been done. I'm sure the broadcast deals and the kind of money coming in is what is facilitating that. And you're right, the BCCI takes a lot of flack for a lot of stuff, but they definitely need to be given due credit here. I think anybody associated with cricket now can expect to be handsomely rewarded by the BCCI if they do a good job, and that's no small measure due to the IPL. So great point. JD, you had something else to say?
I mean, to be really honest, I don't fully agree to it. Yes, they have done, well, especially on the pensions and the umpires. But I think they can do more for the spectators in terms of, the ticketing as an example, right? Ticketing is a complete chaos. If I want to, get tickets for an IPL game or any game, the spectators' comfort in the stadium. I think stadiums definitely need a lot of improvements in general, for players, convenience. And I mean, I think that's something that they should do better.
Fair call. I think that's a fair call. I just want to make actually one last point before we move to maybe talking about the negative impact of IPL as well. I think one thing that it's done for, I guess, other countries as well, but to a great extent for India, is provided depth of talent. The IPL is provided. Now, I mean, just take the recent couple of series, whether it's Ireland series or the South Africa series. We have played without Kohli, KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, Bumrah, Shami, Jadeja. We've basically not had our entire first choice playing team. Yet we haven't really missed them, have we? A top 6 batting lineup which includes Ruturaj Gaikwad, Ishan Kishan, Sreekumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, Sanju Samson, Dinesh Karthik can play a World Cup by itself and win a World Cup. We don't need the guys that we're missing really, right? So I think that depth of talent is something that we really need to appreciate, and we couldn't imagine this 15 years ago. If 2-3 of our first choice players were out because of injuries, we would be left scrambling about how would we play the next match, when we would compete. Now we can win a World Cup with the teams without any of these guys.
Very true. I agree with that. It's a great point. My last point about the positive would be just the passion that it creates among the fans when an IPL comes. Now with all the fan clubs and like JD's passion for CSK and the RCB legendary RCB fans, Isala Cup someday. I mean, you've got restaurants now which you have an RCB restaurant here, right? I think close
RCB
to
Cafe.
RCB Cafe. So I mean, the kind of passion that the IPL has got, fan loyalty and the carnival-like atmosphere that it creates. It just makes me love those 2 months of the year. And JD knows about how depressed I get at the end of it. But I just love that, that zest and liveliness that IPL brings. So that would be my final point.
Now that we've painted a nice rosy picture of all that the IPL does, let's try to argue against ourselves and see what are the negatives. And being a lawyer, we do this all the time. We can often have to argue both sides to make sure that we're giving the right advice. So let's start with JD. Do you want to go? A couple of negatives you think that the IPL has brought into the game?
See, I think one of my biggest concerns is obviously the money, right? Because I'm not really sure how an individual actually goes about with the transformation in himself once they get paid huge money, right? Because when sometimes I see players like Ryan Parag or Krunal Pandya, I get really worried looking at their attitude on the field, right? I think I'm not sure what's happening in their head. I know there's a lot of passion, but I just get this feeling that as much as they have the talent, that attitude really worries me a lot. And probably it's got to do with the money. Probably it's got to do with the fame, because there's obviously too much attention. Maybe they start overthinking about themselves. And I in fact remember the recent IPL incident involving Ryan Parag. He came out and made a statement saying that I think Harshal Patel and Mohammad Siraj apparently told him that you're just a kid. Right, we are seniors. Those sort of things, really worry me a lot. When I read on the papers, when I see, those attitude on the TVs, that's something that I'm, very very worried about IPL. And I think player management is if not done, it's not good, right? So
super point. Very true. I agree.
Uday, you want to
the point I think JD knows about my irritation here. I think just the crass commercialization sometimes just gets to me. I mean, the commentators coming and talking about Swiggy and Zomato and various products, and the commentators
doesn't that add to your carnival-like atmosphere?
No. In fact, it punctures my enthusiasm more than anything. It's just very annoying, man. I mean, you got the last 5 overs, you got some slog overs, something, and you just comment. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've reduced commentators into marketing agents. I mean, it's just very annoying. Yeah. They first of all, with all the ads and everything, the time they get to speak is limited, and in that time they're talking nonsense like this. the joy of watching the game. JD and I were discussing this.
I watch on mute.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say we watch mostly IPL on mute because of this kind of nonsense. So, that's one thing. That's a really jarring note for me. The viewing experience has become not as lovely as watching a test match where you have people like I was watching David Gower now. How beautifully he speaks. The way. Just the joy of the game is gone. It's like you're watching some marketing event. That really gets to me. Bishen, sorry.
Yeah, no, I have actually an overarching issue. I mean, it may sound like a lot of doom and gloom, but it's related to a point I made earlier. Now there are boards which are not as rich, right? And forget West Indies, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan. Any board in the world will not be able to compete with the financial clout of India. As we go along, it's very possible that these boards will not be able to pay the players enough to incentivize them to play for their country.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you are not able to pay them enough and make them play, and you're already seeing that with West Indies and South Africa regularly, right? South African players leave to play county cricket and leave the country completely. West Indies players are T20 mercenaries playing across the world. So you're seeing the beginning of that happening already. And as we go along, the IPL and other T20 leagues, which have some clout, like maybe the Big Bash, could result in countries just not being able to incentivize players. And once international cricket is no longer the top quality of cricket, which it currently is, and IPL is one level below, if international cricket is no longer the top quality of cricket, it will get wiped out, right? Currently, we think about IPL as supporting test cricket and, ensuring that the other forms of the game survive, not just IPL, T20 format, helping the other forms survive while being entertaining, increasing viewership and all of that. But when the time comes that T20 cricket and IPL will, of course, help that, eats the other two format. And we are seeing it happen in front of our eyes. It's possible that there will be no international cricket. And people like the three of us on this call may feel bad about it, and I will genuinely be upset about it. But I guess the time will come and we have to just accept that the format the world wants to see is T20 and IPL. That's cricket that they want to see. And for relics like us, you can't just keep playing a 5-day match to make us happy. So it may just go out and we'll have to just live with it.
In fact, Bishen,
to be honest,
go on.
Sorry, Uday.
Sorry, JD. No, go on, JD. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, to be honest, I'm not even sure if that applies only to the countries that you said. I somehow get the feeling, even looking at someone like Prithvi Shaw, right, as an example, right? Yeah. He's a 21, 22-year-old, and I have been following him even during the Ranji days. He used to be this massive run scorer. Yeah. Somehow I get the feeling that he's not fit. He doesn't seem to be someone who seems to have that passion to play for the country again. Something is definitely amiss. Looking at least his so-called offline cricketing images. When I see on the nets, I'm really worried for people like him. Right? I somehow get the feeling that even someone like Prithvi Shaw doesn't seem to be really bothered about whether he plays for the country or again or not. At least I get that impression looking at him.
No, it's natural, right? You're getting your fame and name and fame playing the IPL, and as time goes, we and maybe the generation following us will be the last ones who really value Test cricket. For example, why will they? I mean, they'll be like, you make easy money in 2 months, or even lesser. You make a huge amount of money, become huge, cricket superstars, and then the motivation to play a Test match and enjoy yourself, and not have to slog it out for 5 days, as Bishen said. Really, very few players. A Pujara maybe, that kind of a Pujara who's probably part of a dying generation, right? I mean, you really wouldn't have that. My fear, Bishen, what I was going to say to your point was, I fear for the 50-over game. Actually, I really don't know where it stands.
No, the
Test cricket still, because
of no question about it.
There's no question about it.
It's already
dying. I definitely see a future very close, a very near future where they're just going to scrap it and just probably keep the World Cup for nostalgia reasons. I don't know why else they would keep a 50-over World Cup, but a normal 50-over bilateral series has no relevance, right? Okay, you have a cricket league now, but who's following it? Who's following the points table? Nobody, right?
So let's not even talk about ODI cricket. That's going. T20 cricket also bilaterally is not hotly contested. It's about the T20 World Cup. The only bilateral series that fans follow and care about really is Test cricket. And
the
even
Ashes
that,
and whatever.
over a period of time, if players can't make them incentivize their players to play for the country and play the longest format, there's no doubt that will die as well. But yeah, we will see. Time will tell.
The other thing I worry about with the IPL and all these leagues, especially with the IPL, is fatigue. I mean, I wonder. I mean, COVID times is fine. Okay, you're playing in one ground or two grounds, but once that changes, right? How and you have to travel for over 2 months to different grounds, back and forth.
Yeah,
it's not just the physical fatigue, the mental fatigue. I mean, just constantly living out of a suitcase. I don't know what kind of effect that has on a player's well-being. And then the schedules are such and the IPL window is such that the moment the IPL gets over, there's another series following. And you see many players, not making it. A KL Rahul getting injured, for example. He played the IPL. Now I don't know. He's out indefinitely, right? I mean, it kind of takes away from the joy of watching the game. I feel, or for the players, I think it's very hard on them.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's try and bring this to a close. Let's give ourselves about 30 seconds each to tell everyone what we think of the IPL and the future of cricket vis-a-vis the IPL, right? Is everyone good to go? Shall we do a 30 seconds each? I'll give you a counter when you have 5 seconds left. So let's try and keep it in 30. Okay?
Uday, you want to go first?
Okay, you want me to? So I'll just quickly summarize what I think is the way forward.
Yeah.
So I'd say make the league more meaningful, less travel, make it more compact. I know. I mean, I'm not somebody who complains about more games, but I understand that sometimes, as a fan, you might not want to watch a more concise IPL. So even if you have more teams, my suggestion is definitely have in the long run more teams, but with a dual league system like the Premier League in football. And have a relegation concept, and so more people play the IPL, more players get a chance to play, but you make the context more. You plan better and make it a more precise format. That would be that would be the way I would see things play. And then my last thing would be improve the women's IPL. Give it a good go. I mean, make sure it's as structured and as well organized as the men's league is, and involve as many people as you can from the world of cricket in the women's space. That would be my way forward.
JD?
So yeah, I mean, we obviously established that ODIs is dying. IPL and leagues is pretty much what's going to dominate the game going forward. I think cricket is definitely going to go the football way with leagues all through the year and with only important tournaments, probably like World Cup once in a couple of years. I do though feel that IPL with 10 teams this year was a little bit of an overkill, and I used to love the home away concept, which wasn't there this year. I think if probably a smarter way of scheduling and especially with the fact that there's going to be more and more teams, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a 12 or a 14 member team down the line with the amount of business that's riding on it. It'll be good, at least in my point of view. I think we could potentially look at maybe two phases of an IPL. One that happens probably in another country like South Africa or Middle East, maybe in September, October, and then a phase 2 leading up to the playoffs and final in India in April and May. So that's my view. But how about you, Bishen?
Yeah. So my closing 30 seconds is not a very happy closing 30 seconds. I know that down the line, for me personally, there is pain because IPL is going to eat into international cricket. But having said that, I think we have to all accept that ultimately cricket runs based on popularity, TRP, what the public wants. And if going down the line, what the public wants is a shorter format, is a glamorized league like the IPL, then that's what it has to be. It doesn't matter what I think or a few of us think who prioritize other formats or international cricket. It doesn't matter. And so while I foresee pain for me, I accept that it's necessary, and maybe that's how we have to just accept how cricket's going to be in the future. I think with that, we bring an end to the show. JD, thanks for being on the show. Your first episode on the Cricket Nuts. We look forward to seeing you. We look forward to seeing you more on the show as well. For everybody, thank you for listening. Great having all of you on the show. And I know that it's been a slightly long break between this episode and the previous one. We hope to be more regular and come back to you more frequently with closely spaced episodes.
Bishen is a busy lawyer boy.
Let's not put this on me, but I think I have to accept some of the blame. But looking forward to seeing all of you on another episode of the Cricket Nuts shortly. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Bye.